Hello everybody and welcome to the latest episode of What If Sonic the Hedgehog Died. This is a series where we explore how the events of the main games could have been changed if it was Sonic the Hedgehog to have died during the ending of Adventure 2 rather than Shadow, and the knock-on effect it would have had on the events to follow. Last time, we saw Amy and Metal Sonic behind bars as they got into a bar fight at Club Rouge over the future of Sonic the Hedgehog. But being let out with Shadow, they're now resuming their hunt of Dr. Eggman, with a strong lead and the ability to finally confront him. Before we find out how that goes, if you've been enjoying this series and want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe to let me know. And if you want to help me out, please share the video around to those who may be interested. Okay, it's time for their confrontation with Eggman to begin. In the time since leaving Central City, our heroes have been formalizing a plan to take out Dr. Eggman on the Ark. Once they arrive back at Tails' lab, the Fox reveals that he and Shadow were indeed successful in locating a Chaos Emerald, and with it, Shadow will be able to access a greater breadth of his Chaos abilities, just for that little bit of assurance in their confrontation. Whilst they discuss things, Vanilla will arrive to pick up Cream, who had made a promise not to divulge the greater details of what they all got up to during her stay with them. And once they depart, the remaining members finalise their plan to find Eggman. That just leaves his pyramid base. If I recall, there should still be an operational teleporter that leads straight to the Ark. And if not, I can always be around to fix it up. You're not going to come with us, Tails? Well, I would like to, but just in case something goes wrong, it's probably best to have the tech guy over on Planet's side to get you back out safely. I agree. The last thing we need is to be stranded on the Ark. That settles it then. We're off to the desert. Everyone ready? I'm always ready to teach Eggman a lesson. Then there's no time to waste. Who knows what the Doctor's been up to whilst we've been away. And so, Tails, Shadow, Amy and Metal all board the Tornado and fly off away from Tails' home and all the way into the dusty deserts. Eventually they come across the familiar formations of pyramids that Eggman had occupied during the events of Sonic Adventure 2. Upon landing they traverse the maze-like structure of the inside until they reach a large hall that will lead to the control room where the portal should be located. As they walk, Shadow can't help but reminisce, remembering his time serving with Dr. Eggman. It's strange to think that not that long ago, I was hell-bent on ending the world with Dr. Eggman. Shadow sighs a little bit. You know that wasn't really you, right? You didn't have your memories. And yet I was so convinced. Let's keep moving. And they do, finding the control room, covered in dust after being neglected for so long. But once Tails pokes around, some lights on the control panels glow up, and it appears everything is still in order. Alright, looks like we're in business. Let me just access some of the files here. It shouldn't be too hard to figure out. Wouldn't be the first time I've tampered with Eggman's tech after all. I'll get you sent to the Ark in no time. We should see if there's any robots still operating, just in case. I'll stay back and guard Tails. You two go. Alright then. Metal, let's check the perimeter. And the two hedgehogs leave the room, scouting around the nearby area, checking over where they hadn't already been. As they do, Shadow makes some small conversation. This upcoming encounter could be it. Everything we've worked for these last few days. In some ways, I suppose it's rather unfortunate for you, having your purpose concluded so soon after receiving it. But understand this, if we succeed in preventing Dr. Eggman's plans, from here forth you'll be able to choose whatever it is you like. And I'll be able to return figuring out what that means for me. Are you prepared? In our fight with his robot previously, you fought well, but I just want to make sure there's nothing lingering within that could cause you to hesitate. We're here to eliminate any threats we find. Metal Sonic, as silent as always, clenches a fist as a sign of his determination. It's been a pleasure working with you, Metal. Let's make sure this final act is one to remember. Unbeknownst to the two of them though, they're not alone. A spectre has been observing, and seeing a glint, it leaps, passing through Shadow's body. What? And as it emerges through the other side, the strange ghostly figure is holding the Chaos Emerald. Metal Sonic leaps into action, scratching at the entity, but his claw goes straight through. It cackles and starts to fly away. And as Metal Sonic looks to pursue, Shadow raises a hand. Don't bother. There's a simpler way to handle with these spooks. And he throws a Chaos Spear at the ceiling, collapsing it and revealing the sunlight pouring down. The ghost caught within can do nothing but scream as its body is disintegrated to ash, and the emerald collapses onto the floor. Shadow takes a breath, recovering from the fact that it passed straight through his body, and as he does so, Metal Sonic goes to retrieve the Chaos Emerald. As he leans over to pick it up and his hand clenches around it, his body freezes for a moment, his eyes turning off, leaving vacant black screens in their place. Shadow observes, but for now says nothing. Moments later, Metal Sonic's body jerks and the eyes turn back on, standing up to look at Shadow. Everything alright? Metal Sonic's response is to throw him the Chaos Emerald, which he catches. You could have said you've seen a ghost. Let's report back to the others. They should be ready by now. Soon, they arrive back at the control room with Tails and Amy. How's progress? The link is ready. It should take you straight to the Ark. Of course, I can't say what to expect once you get there, but it's safe to presume Eggman will have left you a welcoming gift. I'm sure he's expecting us to do something to try and stop him by now. Did you guys find any trouble? Nothing but ghosts. If there's nothing else, I'm ready to get a move on. Right. As I said before, I'll stay here to make sure you can get back. Just use one of the computers on the Ark to communicate with me. I've linked them all up to this one here. Very well. Your assistance is appreciated, Tails. And don't worry about us. Together we'll be ready for anything. See ya, Tails. Good luck, guys. And Tails pulls a lever, initiating the teleport sequence from the pyramid base, beaming them all up onto the Ark. The space station is still functional, the lights are still on, a gentle hum of the engine still rings through the metallic surfaces, and yet it's oddly quiet. You would have presumed there would be more activity with Eggman preparing for something, but alas, it's very reminiscent of the last time Shadow was here on the Ark. Both he and Amy cannot help but reflect on the events that occurred when they were both last here, though none of them speak of it aloud. Proceed with caution. Just because we don't know where he is, doesn't mean he's not watching. You lead the way, Amy says as she equips her hammer, wielding it with both hands. Metal Sonic nods in agreement, and they follow Shadow's lead, exiting through one of the open security doors and down one of the windowed halls, then making a turn into what seems to be one of the electrical rooms. In this section, all lighting besides the emergency lights have been turned off, making it rather dim. This seems like a perfect place for an ambush. And as if the magic word was spoken, through the door they entered in, artificial chaoses pour through. Looks like we've got company. The artificial chaos wastes no time starting their attack, shooting green powerful energy beams from their eyes, detonating in the center of the heroes. They all dive in separate directions to avoid the explosion and then leap into their counterattack. Shadow runs fast enough to stick onto the side of the wall, and as he does so, he swings chaos spears past the heads of each artificial chaos he encounters. Meanwhile, Metal Sonic leaps into the sky and spins into a buzzing ball, bumping off their heads and bursting them to the ground. Amy, meanwhile, manages to throw her Pico Pico hammer at one of the artificial chaos as they were about to blast Shadow, destroying it in a fell swoop with enough momentum that it bounces back into her hand. Swinging over her head this time, she crashes into the body of an artificial chaos. However, this was the larger blob form variant, and unfortunately her hammer gets lodged inside its watery interior, making it rather useless. She looks up worryingly, sorry? But she gets smashed across the face with one of its tentacles, knocking her into the wall. Metal Sonic notices this and changes targets, flying through the air into the back of the blob form artificial chaos and breaking it with his knee. As her hammer flops to the floor, he lands, catches it, and passes it back to Amy. Thanks! These things are tough! And there's more on the way! Shadow calls out as he evades another attack from a tentacle before kicking its face in. But like he said, more artificial chaos keep on entering the rooms to replace the old ones. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a security door emerges, closing off one segment of the room as a new one opens up. But unfortunately, Amy was caught on the wrong side, being trapped alone with the artificial chaos. Metal Sonic and Shadow hit the door to no avail. Amy! Faint footsteps can be heard from the new opening in the room. Well, if it isn't Shadow! Ah, Doctor! And walking into view of the emergency lighting is indeed Dr. Eggman. So, are you ready to admit your own foolishness? Shadow and Metal Sonic stance up for a battle. On the contrary, Shadow, it is you who've proven to be the fool here, for you have brought everything I have wanted in one place. Metal Sonic immediately engages Dr. Eggman, charging through the air with a metal fist pulled back, but before he can land a blow on Eggman, he freezes up and jitters on the floor. The moustached scientist, holding a significant remote in his hand with the button pressed. Still got that rebellious streak, I see. Well, your act of independence ends now. Shadow glares and charges forward at Eggman himself. However, he's intercepted by Metal Sonic, still sparking, his eyes jittering everywhere but the body moving to defend Dr. Eggman. Where are your manners? Aren't you going to let Metal finish? Metal Sonic gut punches Shadow, catching him off guard, and as he coughs for air, the blue robot grabs Shadow's Chaos Emerald for its own. You made this all too easy for me. Now, Metal! It's time for you to get an upgrade. And at the push of another button, Metal Sonic starts sparking with even more electricity, to the point where Shadow needs to hop back. The Chaos Emerald glowing in his palm. In a flash of light, it's gone. And standing in its place is Neo Metal Sonic. What? Ho ho! Good to see my programming worked. Now then, Neo Metal Sonic! You will obey my every command! And your first order! And Eggman points towards Shadow. Eliminate that menace. Shadow watches as the Neo Metal Sonic indeed obeys these orders and heads towards him. So you've had this trick up your sleeve this whole time. I should have known. Neo Metal strikes towards Shadow with a clenched fist. The Hedgehog sways to the side to evade the attack and goes to kick him in the side, but Neo Metal blocks with ease and instead kicks Shadow, slamming him against the wall. However, Neo Metal doesn't pursue and simply watches. Stop playing around! Eliminate him! Now! Neo Metal's head turns slowly to glint towards Dr. Eggman. I do not obey your commands! What? No way! You should obey me! Neo Metal, in a flash, is in front of Dr. Eggman, and he delivers a powerful spinning kick, sending him toppling into a bunch of hardware, crashing upon the surface, and seemingly being knocked unconscious. Shadow, meanwhile, has picked himself back up, and is cautiously closing the distance, guard still raised. Are you just pretending to work for the Doctor? I am the ultimate being, Neo Metal Sonic. I am the real Sonic. All will fall before me. All will despair. He's lost it. I have not lost anything. I am the greatest thing in existence. Already perfect. Now with the training of your comrades. Looks like you've let the power get to your head. You're forgetting. I am the ultimate. Shadow leaps in the air, spinning his feet around for a flaming kick, but then teleports behind Neo Metal Sonic to strike him in the back of the head. Yet at the same time, Metal had predicted the movement and blocks with the back of his palm. Instead of hesitating, Shadow immediately teleports again to the side, smashing down with both his fists, but this time Neo Metal steps out the way. As he crashes to the floor, Shadow instead teleports one last time right in front of Neo Metal and delivers a powerful right hook, his fist clenched, covered in green flowing chaos energy. But it's mirrored with Neo Metal stepping back and throwing forward his own metallic fist, similarly glowing in chaos energy. The fists collide, a high-pitched blast emanating from between them, air flowing from behind them both, as panels of metal get ripped up from beneath them, flying all around the room. Eventually, the two forces cancel each other, and they're both sent flying back a little, still standing in the same positions. Shadow looks into the eyes of Neo Metal.
How can this be? Ha ha ha! Ultimate lifeform data successfully copied. Shadow, I can do everything you can do. You trained me, and now I have copied your own abilities. This is one battle not even you can win. You might have copied my steps, but that doesn't mean you have my moves.
Shadow charges a spin dash and flies straight towards Neo Metal Sonic. The robot activates his black shield for a mere moment, enough time to bounce Shadow back away from him. Then, he flings a Chaos Spear towards Shadow, crashing into him before he even hit the floor, causing him to stumble against the metal surface.
Shoot!
Additional crashing is heard as a wall caves in under the might of Amy's hammer. Taking in a deep breath, Amy stumbles into the room.
Sorry I'm late. Metal? What's going on? What happened to you?
Metal Sonic turns his head to face Amy. Shadow gets between them, putting his arm up.
Forget it, Amy. He's gone. Dr. Eggman's done something to him. And now he's set on destroying us all.
Oh, it can't be right. What about all of the...
Don't waste your breath. I made a promise that if he ever stepped out of line, I would put him down. And that's exactly what I intend to do. Your resistance is futile. You cannot defeat me. I have all of your combat data.
Shadow flicks his finger, causing a small rupture of chaos energy beneath Neo Metal Sonic's leg, knocking it up and dropping one knee to the floor as he was caught off guard. Using this, Shadow charges forward at full speed and knees Neo Metal in the head, flinging him back into the nearest wall. Shadow throws a Chaos Spear that detonates on impact. Stumbling out of the wall, Neo Metal gets up and wipes some dust off his long pointy nose. He charges forward at Shadow and they lock hands, pushing against each other, either side giving up their ground.
You may know everything I'm going to do, so that just means I need to overpower you. I would like to see you try.
Each of them let go of one another so that they may instead start slinging punches. Shadow does a barrage 1, 2, 3, hitting Metal Sonic's body with chaos-imbued strikes. But then Metal Sonic retaliates, slashing out with claws, cutting at Shadow, shearing small threads of quill off in the motion. Shadow responds in kind, clasping both hands together and smashing them into Neo Metal Sonic's chest. The sound of creasing metal can be heard from the impact, as it's enough to stun both of them. But Neo Metal Sonic recovers first, gut punching Shadow once again. Amy watches in horror as the two of them go at one another. But they are both receiving heavy hits and a lot of damage.
Shadow, you have to destroy me.
Huh? Shadow blocks Metal Sonic's next attack instead of striking back. Neo Metal continues to strike, but they're more easily blocked than moments before.
I remember everything. My creation, my failures. Ever since I grasped the Chaos Emerald, I knew. But I pretended nothing had changed. Because with you and your friends, I was not Metal Sonic. I was Metal.
Shadow manages to get the advantage, smashing one of Neo Metal's arms behind his own body and delivering a powerful Chaos Strike straight to the chest of Neo Metal Sonic, who buckles against the weight, supported now by Shadow's arm. He turns his head towards Shadow.
You must destroy me. I don't want to destroy you.
Shadow winces, holding up his free hand and charging it with enough chaos energy to summon a blade around, raising it above Metal Sonic's head. But as he goes to bring it down, he can't help but hesitate. This should be easy. He promised to do this. But Metal's come a long way, and considering Shadow's own twisted past, he can't help but put himself in Metal Sonic's shoes. Perhaps if he was fully under control, it would be simple. But here he can see Metal's personality shine through. I can't. Metal Sonic's feet then regain their strength and instead grip Shadow's arm, spinning him around and letting go as he crashes into layers of glass and slumps against the wall. Neo Metal takes a stumbling step towards Shadow's new position.
Must obey, Robotnik.
Metal, stop! Amy jumps in front of Neo Metal Sonic, putting her arms on its shoulders to stop him from moving forward. The robot tilts its eyes to face her own. You've got to stop! You don't have to listen to him! Don't let him change you!
Get out of my way! Must obey, Robotnik!
Neo Metal takes another step, pushing Amy, but she maintains her grip on him. Listen to me, Metal! You're better than this! You don't have to be what someone else tells you to. You're your own person. You've lived your own life. You have your own memories. You have your own friends. Please, fight back. I believe in you.
Must obey, Robotnik must. Nah!
Neo Metal grabs his head, shaking it around as his code conflicts. He has his orders. There is no other option. And yet, he can't help but listen to the voice. Amy hugs the robot. You don't need to listen to him. You're more than that, Metal. Believe in your friends. As he struggles with his conflicting orders, the Chaos Emerald materializes back, hovering over his head. It glows and starts gyrating with incredible speed, and Metal Sonic's body begins to glow a brilliant white. The glow emanates around the darkened room, and as it fades, Neo Metal is no more. Instead, the regular form of Metal Sonic falls to its knees, and the Chaos Emerald clatters against the floor beside it. By now, Shadow has gotten up, clutching his arm as he walks towards the two of them.
You've got some spirit there, Metal.
Noticing the emerald on the floor, Shadow picks it up.
I think I'll hold on to this for now.
What about Eggman?
Yes, what about the doctor?
Shadow turns to where he last saw him, but unfortunately, nobody is there.
Shoot! He got away again.
I guess that means our chase isn't over.
Perhaps. The real objective was to stop his movement in the Ark. I've still got a way we can call this a success.
And after having a moment to pick themselves together, the three of them head back to the central control room. Here, Shadow fiddles around with some settings for a moment, as well as sending Tails a message to return them back. As everyone gets into the teleporter, Shadow quickly flings a Chaos Spear into the computer. Shadow, what are you doing?
I'm ensuring no one can access the teleporter again, so we won't have to worry about the doctor returning here.
I see. I suppose that will do for now.
Indeed.
And the teleporter activates, warping them back to the pyramid base, where Tails awaits. He sees the three of them, with Metal and especially Shadow looking worse for wear, but Amy explains everything that had went down. Together, they all board the tornado and fly back to Emerald Town for some well-earned rest. In the time since Dr. Eggman's defeat, life has returned to a relative normalcy. Club Rouge is under repairs, but the building is still partially operational. However, its owner, Rouge the Bat, hasn't shown her face publicly there in quite some time. The police have also applied heavy restrictions onto how it's allowed to run. Amy has returned to her usual routine of giving kids their fighting lessons as well as trying to keep the streets safe. But now she frequents Tails' lab, both to keep in contact with him, but also to help in any way she can with his attempt to build a machine to restore Sonic's memory. Aside from working on that, Tails is still the usual handyman for the locals, and as always, he enjoys just being useful. Metal Sonic spends a lot of time around Tails and Amy as well, but he's also become a favourite babysitter for Cream the Rabbit that Vanilla chooses for his reliability. And as for Shadow, he plans to resume his personal quest of exploring the world to learn more about his people, whilst also having an eye out for any Eggman activity. But his friends have encouraged him to try and pick up a hobby to relax sometime. And that is why we find Shadow at the beginning of a race course, specifically a bike track. At the starting line, on a motorbike he's loaned out for the purpose of the race. And sat on some of the benches to the side cheering him on are Amy, Cream, Tails, and Metal Sonic. You can do it, Shadow! Show them who the ultimate driver really is! Cream and Cheese bought a drum and triangle and start playing away with the instruments. I wonder if they would allow me to make modifications to the bike. That could be interesting. Shadow revs the motorcycle as the countdown begins. He can't help but grin to himself. In this moment, he's with friends, at the races, with nothing threatening happening. For the first time in a long time, he feels at peace. And the race begins, all the other cyclists charging away, and Shadow along with them, riding down on the motorbike. Soon after the starting though, a gush of wind pushes past a couple of the cyclists and maintains speed beside Shadow, revealing itself to be Sonic the Hedgehog running backwards, talking to him. Hey, I heard there was this race going on and that you were entering, so I figured I may as well join in. Sonic, this is a bike race, not a foot race. Heh, whatever, race is a race. Catch me if you can! Meanwhile, seeing this from the sidelines, Metal Sonic vaults the benches and spins up his jet engine to also join the race. Amy reaches after him. Metal, that's not... Ow, what's the use? It's no worry, Amy. I'm sure everyone will enjoy the show either way. Let's just hope they don't get disqualified. Metal Sonic catches up to the other hedgehogs on the track, taking the lead over most of the cyclists. You as well? Well, don't think that's gonna stop me. And the race plows on. But looming over in the sky is the foreboding signs of danger yet to come. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the finale of the second arc for What If Sonic the Hedgehog Died. I hope you've enjoyed it. This has been a very unique twist on the Sonic Battle story. Most people probably didn't expect us to spend this amount of time on a game that's admittedly not very remembered, but I really wanted to develop our unique cast to highlight their differences from the originals, as well as establish their bonds and some locations they're familiar with, and I've had a lot of fun fleshing out the cast. Sunshine and rainbows never last for long for these heroes, and I'm sure a lot of you can already guess what's on the way next. But until then, if you've enjoyed this series so far and are excited for what's to come, please leave a like, comment and subscribe to fill me in on those feelings. And if you would like to support me, please share this video around to those who may be interested. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope you have a great day and to see you next time. This is the Mighty Emperor signing off.